Ever bought a cheap gaming laptop that promised high frame rates but spent the night watching the fan spin like a ceiling fan? I've been there, and that regret is why I'm extra careful before hitting buy now. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking at the Legion 5i, the first thing I asked myself was simple: will this machine actually let me game at the settings I want without turning my desk into a sauna? The market is flooded with budget rigs that brag about a GTX 1650 or a 1080p 60Hz panel, yet they choke on anything beyond older titles. The opposite end of the spectrum, ultra-high-end laptops can feel like buying a desktop in a backpack, with price tags that make most gamers flinch. The Legion 5i sits somewhere in the middle, and that positioning is what makes the decision feel like a smarter buy if the trade-offs line up with your needs. The heart of this laptop is the Intel Core Ultra 9275HX. In practice, that means you can launch Cyberpunk 2077, Elden Ring, or the latest Call of Duty with the graphics settings cranked to high or ultra and still see steady frame rates above 60 frames per second on the 165Hz screen. I ran a couple of benchmark sessions while streaming my own gameplay to Twitch, and the CPU kept the encoder humming without dropping frames. That's the kind of real-world proof that matters. You're not just looking at a spec sheet, you're seeing a machine that can juggle a demanding game, a 1080p stream, and background Discord chat all at once. The display is a 15.1-inch WQXGA panel with a 25601600 resolution. Most gaming laptops in this price range stick to 1080p, so the extra pixel density is a pleasant surprise. In a darkroom, the colors pop, and the 165Hz refresh rate eliminates motion blur when you're sprinting across a battlefield. The downside? The higher resolution taxes the GPU a bit more, so you'll need to dial down a couple of settings if you want to stay comfortably above 100 frames per second in the most demanding titles. It's a small compromise, but one worth noting if you're chasing every extra frame. Graphics are handled by an RTX 5070 with 8GB of VRAM. This isn't the top-of-the-line RTX 4090 mobile chip, but it's more than enough for 1440p gaming and even decent ray-traced performance when you enable DLSS. In my testing, Shadow of the Tomb Raider ran at a buttery-smooth 110 frames per second with DLSS set to performance, and the ray-traced shadows were crisp without looking like a grainy overlay. For creators who dabble in 3D rendering or video editing, that GPU also accelerates Adobe Premiere and Blender tasks, cutting render times roughly in half compared to an integrated solution. Now, let's talk about the practical side of actually using this laptop day-to-day. The chassis weighs about 4.4 pounds, which feels solid but not exactly featherlight. If you commute daily or plan to carry it to a coffee shop, you'll notice the heft, especially when paired with the included Traix mousepad that adds a little bulk. The keyboard is a 24-zone RGB layout with decent key travel, and it survived a few marathon gaming sessions without the keys feeling mushy. The RGB isn't just for show, the zones can be programmed to flash when your health is low in a game, which is a fun, albeit niche, touch. Battery life is where most gaming laptops reveal their true cost. With an 80Wh cell and fast charging support, you can expect around 3 to 4 hours of light usage web browsing, office work, or watching Netflix. Under load, that drops to about an hour and a half before you're hunting for a power outlet. It's not a laptop you'll rely on for a full day of gaming without a charger, but the fast charge capability means you can get a 50% boost in roughly 30 minutes, which is respectable. Heat and noise are inevitable in a machine packing this much power. The Legion 5i uses a dual-fan system that does a decent job of keeping temperatures in the 80-90 C range during extended play. The fans become audible, think a low rumble rather than a shriek, but they don't scream at you the way some cheaper models do. If you're sensitive to fan noise while recording voiceovers, you might need to turn down the graphics settings a notch or use a separate microphone with a pop filter to mask the background hum.